Revolution to evolution. The journey to liberation continues.
The Missionary Training Institutes of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church were born in revolutionary times to meet revolutionary needs. The Missionary Training Institute allowed for seekers to live in close proximity so that we could train in order to go out into the world and take black Christian nationalism to our people all over the world. Evolution is critical. That's the time that we live in right now. We have got to be about training and developing and growing our membership and our children so that someday soon those hot winds of revolution will blow once again. But in the meantime, we are called to focus our attention on evolving as a church. As a church, but also as individual members. How can we grow? How can we be better? How can we be closer to God in our relationship with our God? How can we have better and stronger relationships with one another? These evolutionary times call us to focus on training and education and growth. The challenge for our church, and more specifically the challenge for our region, Shrine of the Black Madonna number 10, here in Houston, Texas, is to reorganize our church to meet the challenges of the day. The finances of the church have been siphoned away to prop up a missionary training institute that has outlived its usefulness. And what I mean by that, I am in no way trying to castigate the Missionary Training Institute and all the great work that it has done and all the great things that it's provided for our church. But what I am saying is, as in the words of Jeremoji Menali Kimathi, the Missionary Training Institute has long since been a true missionary training institute, where it is training members of our church to take black Christian nationalism all over the world. And thus, since it is not meeting a need right now, we have got to figure out how to best do what God is calling us to do today. As I said just a few moments ago, if we're trying to deal with 21st century realities, but we're using horse and buggy 18th century ways, then we are not being true to our calling. And if the Missionary Training Institute that was once viable is not viable now, then that challenges us to figure out, what does God call us to do today? One of the reasons why that is so challenging is because as we try to honor our core values and goals as a church, and this is not just our church, this is any church or any corporation, over time, the strategies, the institutions, and the programs in the minds of members become the actual goals themselves, become sacred cows. But Jeremoji Abebe Ajiman never believed that an institution or a building or a program or any of that was sacred. What was sacred was doing what God called us to do at a particular point in time. And so our beloved founder, First Holy Patriarch, was very clear. If we need to change, if we need to transform, if we need to move, then we have to do it to honor God's calling. Jeremoji Menali Kimathi, at this day and time, is calling us to do the same thing. And so the Missionary Training Institute, which has siphoned so much of the funds of the church away from the church, which means that we cannot provide ample ministry and service to a people in need, then that means we've got to make a hard decision. What are we going to do with that Missionary Training Institute if it is now standing in the way of us doing God's will? We have got to put more effort into youth development. We have got to train up a nation that will obey. We have got to find some children that we can work with and mold and shape and teach so that they recognize that they are not supposed to be trying to beg someone else for a job, but that they themselves are supposed to be these captains of industry, these CEOs and these presidents. So that means that we have got to find as many ways to work with young people and train them up in the way that God would have them go as we can. Now, it just so happens that God has blessed us with a partnership with KIPP Liberation Academy, a proven commodity, a school, a national school, that has done great things in educating young people and waking them up to their divine potential to do great things. They are going to take this property, the Missionary Training Institute, and there will be a school here that is training up children in the way that they should go. Now that means that we are challenged as a region because the Missionary Training Institutes that we now live in will not be here. The challenge is to recognize the incredible opportunity that this KIP partnership provides for our church. The partnership that we have with KIP Liberation Academy helps us to facilitate God's move in our church. It's a beautiful partnership. It will allow us to do great things, to work with children, to work with other adults of like minds that want to see our children grow into their divine potential. But we've got to be open to it. Change, as I already said, is not easy. So these next few days, weeks, months will challenge us. But as we are challenged, let us hold on to the opportunities that God is providing for our church to be a dynamic and relevant 21st century church that is doing more than talking, but is providing services, providing answers, providing solutions for our people. We can do all things through God that strengthens us. We will be a better church for this transition. It will allow our church to grow many times over, but we have got to put in the day-to-day work to make this thing happen. We will look back on this transformation of the Missionary Training Institute as a miracle of God. Oftentimes when we're dealing in the midst of the storm, it doesn't seem like a miracle. But as we do the work, it will be revealed to us that God is doing great things through the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church of the Shrine of the Black Madonna.